Hello, everyone, and welcome to the least lucky episode of Lesbian Talk ever, episode 13.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day, which was the 17th, so that was nearly the 13th, and March is nearly the 13th month, so this is totally awesome.
There's not nearly the 13th month. No, it's
There is a 13th month if you believe that November is the, or October's the last month, and then you've got 13 months later, it's March, so it's the 13th month.
that's coming out of a place that I think is likely your ass.
My ass doesn't speak. I don't know if yours does, but mine doesn't.
Anyway, this is episode 13 of Lesbian Talk with your hosts, the Omega and Diamanda Hagen, and my cat Kippers, who is sleeping, but he's sleeping right next to me, so he'll probably wake up at some point and make a noise.
Hopefully.
And
His
then
noises
all
are truly great.
and then all of Hagen's dreams will come true.
Always.
So how are you today, my dear?
I am alive. I've been doing all sorts of video-related silliness.
Ooh. Are you happy because it's your country's Christmas?
I think Christmas is my country's Christmas.
I saw a thing on Facebook that said St. Patrick's Day is Christmas for the Irish.
No, Christmas is Christmas for the Irish.
I never said it was accurate.
I, you should have killed them.
I'll get right on that. Well, I did comment on a friend of mine who is a sweet person, and I'm not really sure why she thinks this, but she said, if you say St. Patty's Day with two D's instead of St. Patrick's Day, that's just as racist as saying, and then she listed some other racial slurs with like the um the vowels asterisked out. And I was like, really? It's a racial slur? And then like later on in the comments, people were saying, yeah, well, you better not wear orange. That's a good way to get your ass beat. And I was like, in Belfast, maybe, but I don't think in
Only
Michigan.
in certain parts of Belfast. The person was well-meaning but foolish.
Well, it might have been like something that like maybe someone told her that and she believed it.
Possibly, although, she's wrong on so many levels about saying, oh, it's Paddy is a, like, first of all, problem, the wrongness of saying that Paddy is a racial slur. And then they got the wrongness of comparing it to like the N word or whatever. And it's like, no, wrong on so many levels, idiots. Well, you wouldn't say that because you're polite.
Well, it just struck me as pretty funny. And like all the people were like, yeah, don't wear orange because that's horrible. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you live in Wisconsin. You're even Italian. What are you even talking about?
The other thing there, okay, they're saying don't wear orange because because it'll annoy the Irish. Because orange is one of the colors of the pro-British sort of Northern Irish people who are still Irish because they're Northern Irish. So you got that problem.
I pointed that out on Facebook. I said Hagen's allowed to wear orange, and the person who posted it, who had reposted it from someone else, said, "Yeah, that's a good point."
But there's the other thing. Orange is one of the three colors of the Irish flag. That's a bit like saying you're not allowed to wear red on the 4th of July because you're celebrating the Soviet Union.
You say that, but there's probably some Tea Party or somewhere that really believe that.
Yeah, I know. It's quite possible that someone is that stupid, but it's like, yeah, you're allowed to wear blue and you're allowed to wear white to celebrate America, but you're not allowed to wear red because it's
Better
Soviet.
dead than red, which is the theme song that Derek the Bard uses for his Better Off Red series.
Well, the America is a bit silly when it comes to St. Patrick's Day.
We're proudly another ethnicity for the rest of the day.
I was like, generally, this is the first year in many years that I've known it was St. Patrick's Day before actually the day happened. I remember, years ago when I was in England, I wandered into a bar to meet up with some people, and I didn't realize it was St. Patrick's Day until I got there. It was like, oh, that's why they're playing loud, irritating music, that of a different sort than they usually play in the bar.
Well, St. Patrick's Day, the 17th, is my best friend from high school. Is her birthday and also her mother's birthday. And one year I took her and her partner Kay out to shoot, I can't even remember. It was Bennigan's, which was this kind of chain restaurant that they went bankrupt many years ago, which is unfortunate because their food was very good. But they for their St. Patrick's Day thing, and there were people coming around with like big test tube drinks you could buy for $1, and the only thing was that Kay's car had been in a wreck, so they couldn't drive. So I drove, which meant I couldn't drink, and I was like, "We better get really plashed when we get back to your house." And she was like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Was that the one who thought they were honorary Irish because they were born on St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
How many
She could
people
have
do
been
you
trolling.
how many people do you know that don't understand how reality works when it comes to the Irish?
Well, in all fairness, she was a pretty sarcastic person, so she might have been trolling. 'Cause I think we mentioned it last week, and I realized, she might have been trolling.
We can only hope.
Yeah. But anyway, our word from last week, because I've noticed we tend to like go off on a monologue and forget, was volplane, which was a new word for me, which means to glide in a plane. I guess kind of like a glider or those, you
It
know.
sounds like role playing. So I got an idea. Let's go a role playing game where we pretend to be pilots.
That would get really boring really quickly.
That's true. What if there were terrorists though?
The pilots were terrorists?
No, no. What if there are terrorists on your ship?
Oh. Well, then you press the little button that locks the cockpit, and then you let the flight attendants deal with it?
Ah, there was I watched a film a few days ago. I think it was called Altitude, and it was these idiots on a sort of small plane, and they were flying up, and
Idiots on a plane instead of snakes on a plane.
yep. But there was some, there was the the plane was sort of stuck going upwards. The going down thing would not work. So we're like, oh my God, it's not
The
working.
going down thing.
I
Like
can't.
there's a button that's like go down.
Yes, it was not working, and they were stuck, and then they were getting killed off one by one, and they were like, "Oh no, I'm gonna run out of fuel." And then someone pointed out, "This is the exact same story as in this comic book that was being read by one of our people." Dun dun dun. And it
That's what
turns
we
out,
writers like to call foreshadowing.
and he was making everything happen with the power of his mind. And then they went back in time and almost crashed into this plane, which featured the mother of the pilot and the guy who was doing this with his mind when he was a boy, and
It
with
sounds like the Langoliers, but not quite.
similarities. Left Behind is the Langoliers, but not quite.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, did you ever see a movie? I have a vague memory of watching this at some point in time as a child, as a TV movie, where it was like this guy was he was in a when he was a little kid, he was in a plane, and there was like there was turbulence and stuff, and all of a sudden like these people from the future came and they took all the people off the plane.
oh, that's called Millennium.
Okay, cool. Because I remember that. I was like, apparently, like, they would go back because they were in the future and they had all been killed or they were dying from diseases and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there was no healthy DNA in the human race anymore. So they would go back in time to planes that had listed as crashed and everyone died and then steal those people and then put, fake bodies for people to find and
Yeah.
use those people to repopulate the human race.
Yeah, it's called Millennium. It was written by John Varley, who is a sci-fi, usually an author. He always think it was the only film he wrote. Starred Chris Christopherson, and I know all this because I got a copy on DVD.
Oh.
I quite enjoyed that film. It's definitely flawed, but
I
I
like the
enjoyed it.
concept though that like you were gonna die anyway, so you might as well repopulate the race in the future. I thought that was kind of cool.
There's a related idea called Free Jack, I think it's called. It was introduced to me by a policy hack, and you got
Policy
these.
hack.
Yep, you got people in the future are all like, oh no, I need a new body because my body is all used up and all like ha ha ha. So they go back in time and they grab people who are just about to die, and then they put the consciousness of the old rich people into the new young bodies of people who are going to die.
Oh, so it's kind of like a better version of that movie, The Island, that was based off of the MST3K movie with Peter Graves in it, where they harvested people.
Yeah, it could also be described as Memory Run meets Millennium. With the but yeah, gliding and I spend way too much time on airplanes.
You do that.
Yeah, I used to travel. I used to travel like every few months, like for an hour to go to England, to Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland. But now, because ever since I met up with someone, in America, someone deeply special to me, someone called Jackula, I've had to fly over there like every so often.
I'm offended. It wasn't someone called Kippers.
I have to spend like 7 hours in a plane, and that's one of the good ones because sometimes the plane goes like to New York and I have to wait for several hours in JF fucking K airport. I fucking hate you.
Dun dun dun, the worst
And,
airport ever.
and then do another couple of hours and it's like, oh god damn it.
Well, you know what? You want to know a dirty secret?
Oh dear.
I love to travel. Like I do. Like I if it's even it's on a bus, on a train, not by car because by car it's just kind of like you're driving somewhere far away. But plane, I love it. There's like something I don't know. It's just like, you're at the terminal and you're waiting. You're someone who has a thing to do. You're going somewhere, you're doing something, and you're surrounded by other people who are also going somewhere and doing something. And each one of them has a story. Like, maybe that family is going to visit their grandmother that they haven't seen in like, 10 years. Or, that guy has a business meeting, or that woman has a business meeting, or so and so's going somewhere for her their relative's funeral. There's just a million and one people and a million and one like stories, and that's just I don't know. It's very captivating. It's just being at an airport, even if it's like the middle of the night and you're waiting for a flight. It's just I don't know. It's something about travel. I like it. I like watching people. I like that aloneness in public. I like watching all these people and thinking, who are they and where are they going? And wondering if they're thinking that about me. I love it. I feel special when I travel.
Well, you can take your love for travel and you can hold on to that because I fucking hate to travel.
I'll love it for the both of us. How's that?
Fine. I like being in interesting places. I hate getting there.
Well, for me, getting there it's half the fun. It's a departure from the norm, and I know that there's
Your
probably
standards of fun must be very low if sitting in a plane for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours is deemed half the fun.
okay. I don't like actually being in the plane because you're usually smushed up against somebody else, and it's always cold. So okay, I like the idea that I'm flying in the clouds, but yeah. Although when I was really little, I was looking at clouds. I was like, "Mom, can you eat a cloud?" And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "If you go up in an airplane and you're in the clouds, can you open the window and reach out with a spoon and have some clouds?" And Mom's like, No, you can't do that. First of all, you can't open the window on a plane, and you just can't." I'm like, "Yeah, but what if you had a special window that you could open, and could you get a spoon and have some cloud?" Because I imagined it would taste really good. And she was like, "Well, honey, it's just water vapor, so you wouldn't be able to pick it up with a spoon. It would dissolve." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, and
okay."
she should have pointed out that if you wanted to try, she should have pointed out that if you got some fog or some mist, you could try doing that with that and it wouldn't work.
Well, yeah, but clouds they look more cohesive from far away than fog or mist. Because that
Yeah,
dissipates easier.
that's
It looked like something fluffy, like marshmallow fluff, or like I imagined it would taste something like vanilla whipped cream or something like that. Because I was 5.
well, it's adorable. Where were you going to be on the plane?
No, we weren't going anywhere. It was something that I was thinking about. Well, probably when we were
Ah,
in the car somewhere. Yeah, I didn't fly in a plane until I think I was 12 or 13. And my Uncle Gary, who I don't know if you've met because I can't remember. Oh, yeah, I think you met him at Christmas. He decided that he wanted to get a flyer's license. So he bought a little plane because he's a cardiologist and quite wealthy. And so he bought a little plane and he took lessons and he got his license. And this was back in the day where we used to go up there to Long Island every Easter. And then one time he was like, "Hey kids, do you want to come out in the plane?" I was like, "Oh, Mom, can we?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure, fine." And so Uncle Gary took us up in the plane for a few like flyovers of the bay, and it was really cool.
I dare say it was probably really cold.
Well, it wasn't probably on the outside it was, but. And then I was like, "Mom, can I get a flyer's license?" And she's like, "That's not exactly how that works."
Well, you could if you had the money.
Yeah. Well, actually, you don't really even need the money. I think you can get lessons for a few $100s. It's just having the plane to fly is where you need the money.
Yeah. Well, you could do that if you want. I try to avoid planes that are not really, really, really big and sort of part of a reputable company. I don't have a phobia about flying. I just don't enjoy it.
Well, I was young and I didn't know enough about flying to be nervous. I just figured Uncle Gary can drive a plane, just like you drive a car. Although one year, my parents spent a few years up in Boston, And one year I went up, and basically they had me take the train because my dad arranged the travel. I took the train to Newark, and then I caught a little teeny like puddle jumper plane up to New Hampshire, and then he picked me up at the airfield in New Hampshire. But it was a pretty bumpy ride. It was a very small plane. I like to tell people, yeah, I got a SEPTA plane, because SEPTA is the, you know, public transit in Philly.
Septic plane.
Pretty much. And there was like a lot of turbulence on the way back, and it was me and this one businessman were the only people that were flying, and the air steward was flaming, and he was like, "Can I get you something, hun?" And I was like, "Cause we'd been in turbulence since we took off," and I said, "Yeah, can I have a beer?" He goes, "I'm gonna need to see some ID, hun." I was like, "Here you go. I'm getting you something."
If you were 5, you would have been all like, "Mommy, is that guy gay?"
I didn't know what gay was when I was little. Are you kidding me? Like I didn't. I honestly didn't. Like the concept had to be explained to me. It was like what like I think we were at a movie theater and there was a very butch lesbian walk by. And I was like, "Mommy, is that person a boy or a girl?" My mom was like, "I think she's a girl." And I was like, "She looks like a boy." My mom's like, "Well, not everybody looks the same. Some people are gay or lesbians." I was like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "If you fall in love with somebody who's a girl and you got married to her, then you would be a lesbian. If you were a boy and you fell in love with someone who was a man and you got married, then that would make you gay." And I was like, "That's silly. That doesn't work." Because I didn't know about how sex worked yet. I think we were in line to see 101 Dalmatians,
Oh,
as I recall correctly.
the
But yes, so being on a plane.
I have to say a major American airline did not fill me with confidence whenever I had to take a flight from Philadelphia to New York and then take one to Dublin. And when I got to New York, um, sorry, it was before I actually took my first flight to New York. I was talking to this guy, and the previous flight, for the gate where I'm supposed to be waiting for, was still there. So I went and talked to this person about, hey, is that my flight? I don't think it is. I just want to make absolutely sure. And the guy, he took my boarding pass and then went and just ignored me for the next like ages and ages and ages. And he thought I was part of this previous flight. And no matter what I said to him, no, that's not my flight. He just kept trying to put me on a new flight to Dublin. And so what happened was he could put me on this other flight, which was going to take me make me wait an extra 12 hours, send me to New York, then send me to Dublin, sorry, send Amsterdam and then Dublin. And
Jesus.
then finally, after like 20 minutes me standing there, sometimes trying to tell him, no, that's not my flight. There's nothing wrong with my flight. I was just asking you a completely unrelated question. And he's just like looking at me going like, I don't give a shit about you. One of his coworkers comes up and looks over what he's doing and says, this person's not actually on that flight. And I'm like, thank you.
What did he say?
And I just went, oh, I correct. He said something. He was just like, I really should. And then he just decided to put me back into the original flight again. It's like semi nerve wracking.
Well, you know what? I mean, I love Philly and everything, but the people who work at Philly International, like, they're really from Philly. Like, you can tell in the attitude. Like, it's one of the worst airports in the nation for, like, employees that actually give a shit.
Well, as it's I remember we were talking about that before you put me in, before I went into the main part of it.
Hmm.
And I'd been commenting about how I'd never had a bad experience in Philadelphia. And I theorized that possibly it's all of the national sort of areas. That's where they put the crappy people and they put the good people into the international section. Then, of course, this happens and my theory is destroyed.
I'm sorry about that. I just don't like how there's no place to eat before security. So I can never come pick you up from Philly and grab a meal while I wait. And then, like, there's this bass-ackwards way you have to go through, quote-unquote, the international lounge to get to... It's just, we never park in the right place, and we always have to... It's a pain in the ass.
We do a hell of a lot of walking. But when it comes to good airlines, though, I took Singapore Air, Silk Air, from Heathrow to Singapore, and that was the best I'd ever been in.
You've been everywhere.
That was beautiful, that sort of flight. The food was good. Admittedly, it was 13 hours long, but not the food, the flight.
It's 13 hours of dinner. But I don't want any more dinner, too bad.
It was so it was the first time I'd been on a flight which had the digital entertainment system rather than having like set up like a television channel where it was like this is on now, then this is on, then this is on. You can't control anything, but you can look through different channels. It was a case of here is our selection of programs. You may choose what to watch. You can stop spinning halfway through to watch something else.
Oh, that's
There's also games on board. When it became common after that, and like several flights do it into America, like Delta does it quite well on the international parts, but Singapore, that's the first time I came across it, and this is incredibly childish. Well, not childish, but
I think I know what story you're going to tell, but go ahead.
basically Singapore. This is sexist as all hell, but it all of the stewardesses looked like supermodels.
Oh,
I got the feeling that that Singapore Air just has a rule that says that women have to be a certain level of attractiveness before they can be uh, before they can be stewardesses, and
or maybe all Singapore women are just really attractive anyway.
possibly.
Like I read somewhere that like doesn't Brazil have the highest percentage of attractive people ever? Or maybe I made that up. I remember reading something about Brazil.
Wouldn't be surprised, but I have to say, and their outfits are really good too. Whenever I got to Singapore, I really wanted to find a shop to buy like on a replica of what they wore in the the stewardesses.
Can I have a replica stewardess outfit? Why? What are you up to? Nothing.
Oh, it's so good looking. But
So everyone Google that. You know what? I'll find a picture and I'll put it up during this part.
well, remember this was about 2005, 2004, so the uniform might be a bit different.
Honey, there's pictures of everything on the internet in every time period.
But yeah, Air
Bruce
Singapore.
is
If I
licking his paw, and I'm really worried that that's showing up. So if you're in the background, it's not me, it's the cat.
well, if I ever get back to Thailand, I want to go by Singapore. I don't care how expensive it is. It was a nice airline.
Well, if we ever go, I mean, there's no saying that we can't. A friend of mine, this kid I knew in high school, and I'm friends with on Facebook, he and his wife took a belated honeymoon just recently to Thailand, and they were posting all these pictures.
Here, honey, I can't find any pictures of the stewardesses from back then, but here's a picture of one of the meals from Air Singapore. Check this
Okay.
out.
All right, let's see. Well, that looks quite portable. Looks a lot better than the crap that you get on Delta anyway. So
Yeah,
I'll put that up, guys, so everyone can see and be like, "Wow, that's a meal that I wouldn't mind eating." I said, "You."
for 13 hours on a plane. It was but yeah, if like one of Omega's relatives is married to someone who was originally from Korea, and we've talked that if we can get the money together, we're going to try and go to Seoul, and I think Silk Air would be a good way to do it.
That'd be pretty cool. And I have to talk to her about that. She actually, I found this out from Facebook, did something called matching, and I'm not sure what that means, but I think that's like whatever hospital you get put to, because she's a year behind Philip as far as doctorness goes. But she'll be working at some hospital in New York, which is the same one that he's at right now.
Hmm.
So, whenever we're rich, I'm just saying, and we're ready to go to the Seoul, we'll have to bother them.
Hopefully it'll be good. We will
Hopefully, Seoul will still be there.
that's true.
Like, I thought about that. Like, I read an article today. It was like, U.S. bulks up strategic missile defense on the West Coast. And I actually thought to myself, really? Really? I don't think they can get a missile to the West Coast without some country shooting it down. Like, if anyone gets bombed, it's going to be Japan or China by accident or South Korea. Like, I think we are in, statistically very little danger. Our allies, not so much. And poor Japan, they've had enough radioactivity to last them probably the rest of ever.
Gonna have Pulgasari battling Godzilla.
That'd be pretty cool.
But what is on to our second thing of the evening?
I don't know, because we only really have 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, or we have to go to Nanowar.
Oh dear. Oh well, the entire first half of it was us talking about planes.
But
That
it's
was not
interesting.
planned.
You know what? It's topical because other people can relate. Like I'm sure a lot of our peoples who listen, or a lot of our audience, have been on planes before. So
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
true.
I can't wait to fly again. If everything goes well, I may be flying in a few weeks. So kind of excited about that.
Yeah, and if And if all goes well, we might have to record an episode of Lesbian Talk, together.
In another country.
Yeah, well, if all goes well, that means I'd be recording, a couple of episodes over at yours, and then hopefully you'd be recording at least one over here.
Yeah, I really would. I'm actually looking forward to flying over to yours again. The first time I flew, I bought a little bottle of. It was an overnight flight. It left at 9 p.m. and it landed at 8 a.m. local time because it was a direct Philly to Dublin flight. And so I was in the little newsstand place, and I saw a bottle of this stuff called Dream Water. It's supposed to help you sleep, and I didn't know at the time, but it has melatonin in it, which is a hormone your body creates, to make you drowsy. So it's pretty safe. I mean, I take melatonin tabs sometimes if I can't sleep. But so, I was sitting, and I always get the window seat. So I was sitting there, and there was a girl who looked like maybe 12 or 13 next to me, and there was this Indian guy on the end, and he was going back to London because I heard him telling the girl. And so I drank this dream water stuff, which was about the size of an energy shot. It was like a reverse energy shot. And I started reading People magazine, and I felt tired, and I fell asleep. And then I would, because it was cold on the plane, even though I was wearing a hoodie and stuff, I would wake up every so often, and I woke up mid-flight, and I wanted to use the restroom, and I had a moment because the girl who had been next to me was flying back to Ireland with her family, and I guess at some point she switched with her mother because I woke up, and now there was like a middle-aged woman next to me, which was really disconcerting.
The little girl has evolved into middle-aged woman.
I was like, how long have we been on this flight? But then I woke up about maybe 20 minutes before we landed in Dublin, and we were flying in, over like farms and stuff like that. And the girl was back next to me, and so I looked down, and like you could see all the farms like outlined, I guess by different like tree lines, and it looked like some kind of like patchwork or mosaic. And I was really groggy, so I said to the girl, I was like, "You're from here, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What's with all those little tiles down there?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Why are all those like why does it look like that?" She's like, "Those are farms." And gave me a look, and I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Well, God damn it, there was something I was going to mention that was going to be really, really clever and stuff. Well,
Cleverness.
whenever you come over, I shall meet you at Dublin Airport. Though I warn you, I will be just as tired as you.
Oh yeah, because you'll have to get the thing. Well, you don't have to do that because if I'm coming up anyway, you can just if you don't feel like coming down, you can meet me in Derry at the bus station.
No, I'd meet you at the thing because, the next, like you get in, say 8 o'clock. If I get a bus down, the same bus I would take whenever I'm flying to America, it would get me in about 7:30. I could meet you, and then the next plane up to London, and then the next bus up to Derry is about 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Okay, and then we could have breakfast or something.
Yeah, you could either get breakfast or I could get a single down to Dublin, and then we could go over to Belfast. Uh, you wouldn't have a massive amount of bags, so we could actually go off and get lunch in Belfast, and then take a bus to Derry.
That's a very good point. See, isn't this great, audience? Now you are part of our vacation planning.
Yep. So we're hopeful that in the next few weeks we're going to at least spend a little bit of time together.
That would be really good. Now, unfortunately, you forgot to send me a Nanowar song, so I don't know which one you'll be hearing, audience. It'll be a surprise.
Okay, everyone, and welcome back to Lesbian Talk. I hope you enjoyed the episode of. I hope you enjoyed that Nanowar song, which we're not entirely sure what it was, but I'm sure it was epic.
It's a mystery. Jazz hands.
I'm sure that skulls and rar were mentioned heavily.
Hey, I drank Viking beer last night.
Does that make you metal?
Yes, it does. Well, no, I posted that on Facebook. It was or on Twitter. I mean, it's Skull Splitter Ale that the Orkney Brewery up yonder in the Orkney Islands. It's this.
Don't you recall your Mark Steele's in town?
That's what I said. The Orkney Islands, not the Orkneys, because it's already plural. See, I remembered. No, you're just sad because I'm right. But no, it's called Skull Splitter Ale, and it's pretty potent. It's 8.5%, and it's from this Viking recipe. And so I tweeted, I was like, very Viking, also skulls. But I think you were asleep.
Rawr!
Speaking of Vikings, and speaking of Ireland, it's time for trivia.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. Giovanni, are you about? Yes, I'm here, boss. So, are you having a happy St. Patrick's Day? Yeah, I guess. That's
No,
good.
go fuck yourself.
Hey, shut up. I did not, in fact, dye myself green, but if any of my adoring fans out there want to draw me as a green lobster, wearing a little top hat with a shamrock, I won't complain.
Why are you red, Giovanni? Doesn't that indicate you've been boiled?
No, I'm just special. Don't hate on gingers. It's not good. We have souls. So anyway, it's time for my very famous trivia fact of the day, and this is going to be about Ireland because it's St. Patrick's Day. So, Dublin, the city of Dublin, was actually founded by the Vikings. It's true. The Vikings would trade with or abduct people from Russia all the way down to Africa. It's suffice to say, they did a lot of fucking with other groups, like mammals do. There's even evidence that there were black Irish Vikings in Dublin. So next time somebody white at a party says, well, I'm black Irish, you can punch him in the face. Giovanni told you to.
And the term Black Irish actually traditionally means an Irish person with black hair. In Europe, it was quite common, for the term black just to refer to hair color.
Yeah, actually, my mom's father, both of his parents were actually like Irish citizens, and he was born in this country, and he had very dark eyes and black hair.
Yeah. See, there's stuff we know that you didn't know, Giovanni. Go throw yourself in a big pot of water.
Lobster discrimination is real, but don't worry, crustaceans, it gets better. I'm out of here. Time to go get drunk.
It never gets better for lobsters.
Why do you hate on Giovanni so much?
I only hate on people that I love.
That's a lie because you hate on a lot of people in discussion forums when you pick fights on the internet.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be so impolite to them if we were in person.
So, anyway. So now it's time for the part of the show called this What Happened at the Store. Occasionally something happened at the store, occasionally a story from the store, because I always call it something different every time. But this is the first episode that you listened to, I've spent the last 9 years, next week, 9 years, this Saturday, working for a large chain bookstore. And I have seen it all, the funny, the obnoxious, the weird, and the uplifting, and this story is one of them.
And this is my favorite part of the episode because this is the part where I can just sit there and pretend I'm listening but not actually listen.
I love you, dear.
No, you don't.
So anyway, this is kind of like last week's episode, last week's story. This is kind of like a hodgepodge of different moments, because occasionally, well, we get people who are awful and stupid and downright obnoxious, and occasionally racist and stupid, occasionally awesome but also stupid. We do get some people who they leave and you have the feeling that you've helped them in some way. Like before I worked in retail, had not been aware of the sheer number of people who depend on others in a customer service relationship to help them in their lives. Like, on my first store, I was, just at customer service, and this guy comes up, he's like, yeah, do you got, like, some books about, kind of like anger management and shit? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I took him over to self-improvement. I'm like, here's a book, here's a good book, here's a good book. He's like, that's cool, because, like, my fiance, she says that, like, she's gonna leave me if I don't, like, my temper and shit and stuff, and so I wanna, be better and crap, but I don't, I'm just, like, I don't know what to do and stuff. And so I recommended a few titles that just are titles that sell well, and he's like, do you think that, like, she still loves me and stuff? I'm like, I don't know, I've never met your fiance, but I know that you wanting to make a positive change in your life is really good, and that's a good, that hopefully that she'll take that as the positive sign. That he's like, oh, okay. And then I went off to, go do other things, help other customers, and he passed by customer service on his way out of the store, and he was carrying like 4 or 5 books. He's like, I got all these. I think it's really good. I think I could really like be like a really awesome person. And I was like, aw, that's good.
And the fact that he has never come back and been pissed off at you and tried to murder you for, failing him indicates that things went well.
I guess. It was like my second year, and I was at that store for a good 4.5 years, so... Well, I mean, you got all kinds. Like, sometimes I'll get, like, a parent's like, do you have just any books about the autism spectrum? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. And there's a part of the store called FPAT, Family and Parenting and Childcare, that area. And part of that is children with special needs. And I was like, okay, well, here's the section. This book is good. This book is good. This book is good. And, like occasionally the parent will be like, they say that my kid's autistic and I don't know what to do and stuff like that. And I will smile and I'll say, you got the right person. Especially if they say, well, my son or my daughter, they have Asperger's, they say, and I don't know what to do, and all this stuff, and how will I even cope? And I'm like, listen, I'm high functioning. They're like, no. And I'm like, yeah. Some people are higher functioning, some people are lower functioning. Just let them know that you support them. This book is good, that book is good, that book is good. But, here's some other resources. This person's website is good. And like they leave, and I'm like, I made a difference. Da-da-da.
Aw.
I know, right? Or especially like, sometimes people will come up and they'll say, I'm looking for the little blue book. And the first question any bookseller asks when a customer says that is the Kelly Blue Book, which is for used cars. And when they say, no, the other one, you're like, okay. Because the little blue book is the book that the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous wrote. And it's kind of like a guide to, like, getting over addiction and stuff like that. So, no judgment, no questions. Okay, here you go, sir. Or ma'am, because we're modeled for at least one copy, and, we make dreams come true. We help people.
Unless that guy is sort of going from bookshop to bookshop trying to hunt you down for failing him.
I really don't think that's the way. You're so cynical sometimes.
I don't think it's the way either. I just think it would be absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. So, honey, what is our last discussion topico of the day?
We're going to talk about the internet's yo.
The internet! I love the internet!
Oh, someone tweeted at me yesterday saying that, they just got into my videos thanks to Radio Dead Air and my couple of appearances on there.
Yay.
And they sent a message out to, apparently they joined it with the Hagen Facebook group and all, and he sent me a message about Science Team from the same makers of The Taint, and he was like, oh, this looks so exciting, and I was like, have you seen the Taint review? And I linked him to your version of it because it's uncensored, and he watched it and he tweeted back at me saying like, now I know who was doing the dubbing in Naked Killer. So hopefully you get some more views.
That'd be cool. I need to actually do something on my blip. I'm worried blip's gonna let me go. Because all the stuff that I've been doing has been, I've been given right over to Robert for Project Million. So maybe I don't know, do one. You know what? Maybe in the next few weeks I'll do another one of those rapid fire reviews with the one-line review. I know no one liked it very much, but I thought it was funny. So there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see your sci-fi public domain reviews.
Well, those are going to be also given to Project Million because those can go up on YouTube and on Blip. Because I just need to, actually, if anyone out there is a musician, I'm looking for a really short, like maybe 10, 15, 20 second at the most original song to use as an intro to a series of sci-fi reviews that I'm going to be doing this summer. And if you want to contribute that for free, that's awesome, and you'll be credited. If you want to be commissioned, I don't have a lot of money, but I can pay you. And again, you will be credited. So tweet at me, yo, or hit me up on Facebook.
Excellent.
And if you're not my fan on Facebook, like my page. Marketing, marketing, marketing. So anyway, the internet.
Yeah, the influence that the internet has had has been amazing. It's a bit like the influence of like the invention of the Gutenberg printing press, though much, much magnified. It's incredible.
Well, you know what got me thinking about this? If anyone, if you don't follow Shay Apocalypse, you should go to their site or follow them on Twitter. Lindsay had been posting some blog posts about like her early days in fandom and stuff like that. And I don't like to talk about it. Okay, I talk about it all the time, but I'm about a good decade older than most of the folks in the fandom. And it made me think back to like my first days on the internet, like the first time my dad hooked us up. We had Prodigy, which went through our phone line, and he's like, look, this is the information superhighway. And I was like, what? I'm playing Doom. And he's like, no, look. And the first thing that I did was he showed me a post board. It was one of the old post boards, like a news server that updated like every minute about X-Files. And I was like, I like the X-Files. I like Mulder and Scully and things and stuff. That was my first adventure on the internet.
Aww.
This must have been, I want to say maybe 1995 or 6? I think so. It might have been 94 though. I can't really remember when we had that first computer.
So many people would be all like, "Oh my God."
I was a fetus then. Oh my gosh, I remember when everyone had AOL. We never did. We actually we never got AOL. We used other ISPs. But the day that AIM became you could download it from anywhere and not have AOL, God, it was like I was being welcomed into the fold because everybody on AOL would talk over AIM, and I was like, I want to talk to people.
And then it moved on to MSN and Skype.
You know what? I was never on MSN. I was on AIM for about a bajillion years. No, I take that back. I was on MSN for like a hot second, like I think like one summer, and then I was like, this is bullshit. We used I went right from that to like GChat, and I don't use GChat anymore. And then I downloaded Skype when I met you, so
Skype's good. Skype's
I like
I'd
Skype.
used it before signing up with the reviewer people. I had it for a while and then I sort of fell out of use for it. Then I re-downloaded it whenever I was told by Cold Guy that it was the communication du jour for the reviewer community.
Cold guy has his finger on the pulse of the internet.
Yes, lukewarm chap.
Well, like I just remember, like, there's a lot of sites that aren't there anymore. Like, I never used GeoCities. I did use AngelFire, but a few years ago, when Google celebrated their 10-year anniversary, and they let you do Google searches as if it were 10 years ago, I found my old site that I maintained for the Strathaven High School role playing group, our LARP Swathmore by Night. Oh my God, with all the little like animated gifs on fire, and like oh the really bad backgrounds and like back back in the day, like back in the 90s, like it was so amazing sending an email. Like the whole entire concept blew my mind. And just all the sites that I used to visit, all the stuff that I used to read, like I found a site because I was a big fan of Xena Warrior Princess, but whenever my parents came, they're like, "Oh, what are you watching?" I press the previous button and would go back to C-SPAN. I was like, "I'm watching C-SPAN. They're having a vote on the agricultural subcommittee today." And my parents were like, "Oh, we're so glad you're taking an interest in politics," and I go back to Xena. I don't know why. I just didn't want to be caught watching it for some reason. I felt very guilty. But then I was like, Xena and Gabrielle are very close, kind of like they're lesbians or something. So I found like this website called Xena Warrior Lesbian, and it was no, it was all about like picking out all of the subtext in every single episode, and I was like, wow, I'm not the only person. But then I knew about search histories. I learned about that real quick. So like I had a very convoluted keyword search that would get me to that site, and then I cleared the history, cleared the cache, cleared the cookies and everything like that. Cause I don't know. Even though my parents were totally cool when I came out, I was like, I don't want anyone to find out that I've been reading about Xena Warrior Princess and lesbians. Better wipe that.
And then everyone was like, "Oh, why have you wiped out? Why are the cookies all gone? Ah, God damn it! I needed that. Ah,
No, not
nothing."
really. I mean, my dad was web savvy, and I know he probably could have installed the keylogger. He probably could have installed a lot of software, or checked the search history or stuff like that. I don't think that he did though, because my parents really trusted me. Like I never had a curfew because I never went out. So like the one time, like the few times I did go out and stay out really late, they were like, "Who are you with?" I was like, "Derek." "What were you doing?" "Riding around in his car." "You having sex?" "Oh, Derek's gay. He just doesn't realize it." "Oh, okay." But now, like, I mean, I'm sitting here with a laptop on my lap. I've got my iPhone on the thing next to me. Like, I'm literally never that far away from Twitter or Facebook or my email. Like that's the first thing I do when my alarm goes off in the morning, which is my phone, is I check my Omega email to see if there's any upcoming developments. Then I check Twitter, then I check the weather.
You were mega email.
Yeah. Well, I have two. I have my personal email and I have the Omega email.
It's like, oh, it is so mega.
Yeah. So what did you first do? Like when you first discovered the internet? Like where did you hang out?
Superhero-based donkey porn.
You liar. You lying liar.
We had dial-up and it cost money, so in the first
So
few years, from about I think probably started about 1991, we would pay like £1 to my dad because it was his computer, and he would let us use the internet for an hour.
Oh, that's cool. I can see your dad, like, I'm like, it's 59 and a half minutes. I can't do your dad's accent, but Colin probably was like, hold on, I'm reading the Young Government Forum, because I'm proper.
It's all
Jeez. Or like, the first time I downloaded an MP3 on Napster. Like, I was visiting my friend May, and she was down at Guilford. And she was like, "Oh, do you know about MP3s?" I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "It's a kind of file. It's a music file." I was like, "I don't understand." And she's like, "See, you download them off the internet. You can download any song you want for free." And I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, it's totally cool." It's like, "Wow." And I came back. I'm like, "Dad, have you heard about this file? It's called an MP3." And he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Let me show you." Wow. Or like when I went to college and I had my own computer. My parents were like, "We're buying you your own computer, but you better be responsible." I was like, "Okay." It was this old desktop. But like
it's
realizing that I was my own network administrator and I could look up whatever I wanted to, I joined planetout.com. I joined that in the first few months of its existence. It's how I met Sam.
it's uh, it's revolutionized everything, and it'll be fascinating to see how it alters things. Because I get the real feeling with the way things are continuing with interconnectedness, and the fact that everything can be recorded and everything. I got the feeling that our concepts of things like privacy are going to completely change.
Well, but the thing is that I don't. Okay, here's the thing about privacy. You just have to be careful what you put out there. Like when I had a live journal, I bitched about everything in the world. And now I'm so glad that first of all, no one knows my LiveJournal identity. That, and second of all, I set everything to private when it became obvious to me that it's been 4 years since I've been on LiveJournal. I better lock all that shit. Like, you, you only what should, the only thing that shows up is what you put out there. Like, my dad is on Facebook. He's got 4 friends. He's got me, my sister, my uncle, and one of my cousins. And he's like so obsessed with this idea that people will find out everything about his life through Facebook. So I showed him how to view your profile as a stranger, and he had 2 likes. One was the Pentax camera forms because he's a photography buff, and the other was Staples. He's like, "Why is that on there? Take that off there. Why is Staples there?" And I was like, "Well, did you like their page?" And he's like, "Yeah, because I got this coupon." And I'm like, "Well, because you liked it, it shows up as one of your likes." She's like, "I don't want people to see that. Take that off there." And I'm like, "Are you particularly embarrassed about Staples?" But I unliked it for him. But like my mother, if you do a Google search on her, the top result is her doctoral thesis translated into German for some reason.
Well, I mean that the way that we look on privacy will change because we have generations growing up and they're introduced to the internet when they are very, very young and stupid.
Yeah.
And this it'll permeate into the rest of the culture. People, people doing stuff being online will just be a reality. People who were old enough to be smart whenever the internet, boom happened, they will be the rarity in future generations, and it will. I'm hoping that eventually, because every bit of information about everyone else, lots of stuff that we consider right now to be very, very private information, it might actually help a society not be so ashamed of certain things that are ridiculous to be ashamed of.
Well, I'm just glad that when I was young and stupid, there wasn't YouTube.
Yeah, it's those ones don't have that luxury. So I think that we might have to change what we view as how we view privacy. We might have to change how what we view as shameful, all embarrassing past things. We might also have to change our view on what is considered a deal breaker for someone doing a particular job. If we're going to have like generations that come who are going to have done stupid internet videos, YouTube videos, and those things are going to stay around forever. Just imagine in 50, 60, 70 years time, and you've got people running for presidency, and it's routine that they've done stupid things as kids and they're still on the internet.
That's true. That's a very good point.
It's going to have an impact about how we view, kids doing stupid things.
Well, some stuff that happened pre-internet goes on the internet. Like, I occasionally, like every 6 months, get the idea to Google myself, And I actually found, and it was a few pages into the search results, a local newspaper in 1988, when I was 8, had interviewed me because I was doing this summer science camp thing at the local high school, and then I got my picture in the paper and the interview and stuff like that. And my mom has a microfiche of the article somewhere because I know that it was sent to them. I found that article on the internet. The picture wasn't there, but someone had typed it up. My name was there and everything, and I was like, huh, just goes to show, I guess.
Yeah. Like previous generations, people would do stupid things, but they could be covered up, or the evidence was lost or whatever. Like you can't really hide things anymore. And the lack of privacy will get more and more. Like in the previous generations, even, just as far back as, 60s, you had like Kennedy. Kennedy was sick with, I think it was Addison's disease.
Yeah.
And this would come out now, and he would probably not have been elected. FDR with his wheelchair. I don't know. Even today, I'm not entirely sure America would vote in a president who's in a wheelchair.
That's a good point. Although, I mean, it's also changed how we relate to other people too. Because, well, you know what? It's also kind of changed the way that we socialize a bit too. Like, I know that, right now everyone's like really down on the Tick Secrets Tumblr. I didn't really understand Tumblr. I think I'm reaching that point where I'm like, you kids today with your Tumblrs and your Pinterest. But, what I'm seeing a lot is people saying, oh, well, the Tick fandom, the this fandom. And what I realized is that, I have friends from a whole bunch of different countries, who are on at different times and stuff like that. I have friends all over the country that I've never met in person, but I'll be like, I'm having a bad day on Twitter, and someone will be like, oh, it's okay, hugs for you. And you know what? That's really cool, because as I like to tell everyone, I don't like people much. I'm not a very outgoing or social person. I just play one on the internet. But being able to, be friends and communicate on the internet is an introvert's dream, because you can have just as much social interaction as you want on your terms. Like, I can, go to someone's live stream or something, or, be in the live chat, sitting on my chair in my pajamas, my hair is going in all different directions, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, it's like everything new, the internet has its benefits, it has its negative parts, but I think by and large the benefits overpower the negative stuff. If it wasn't for the internet, neither of us would have met Giovanni.
And wouldn't that have been a sin?
Would have been absolutely terrible. You're fucking little lobster.
Oh, you're so down on my lobster. So if anyone doesn't know how we met, it was all because of Nash and Radio Dead Air. So you should always support Nash and watch his show.
Yep, Nash was playing my videos. You were all like, oh my god, who is that devilishly attractive person in the black mask? Then you decided you liked me more than the Minions, and the rest is history.
I don't recall the Minions being involved, but if you say so, dear.
I recall everything.
Oh, really? Oh, really? You recall everything?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be quoted for later use. And you're like, I forgot. And I'll be like, remember that time in Lesbian Talk episode 13 when you said you remember everything?
And I'll say no.
Well played. Well played. But...
Gelfling!
Gelfling! I love to say that. Because it's just the best thing to arbitrarily shout at someone when they're like, things and stuff. You know what? Duh. You're like, Gelfling! And they're like, what? And then you make your speedy escape.
Yes, this is one of Omega's thing to do, and unfortunately, I'm not allowed to impersonate Skeksis because I do it too good an impersonation.
Yeah, you do it too well, so I don't want you to do it ever. No, don't make the Chamberlain noise. I don't like it. You don't like... No, you guys, audience, you have no idea. She'll do that, or she'll do Gollum, but like she'll wait until like I'm almost asleep, And I don't like that. Because dealing with Gollum is one thing, but dealing with Gollum in bed is quite another. You laugh, but one of these days I'm going to come up with a voice that you absolutely hate. And then...
I have a higher tolerance for weird than you.
You probably do, that's true.
But we have words.
We do have words. we have a dictionary full of words. I am holding, well, okay, now I'm holding the Oxford American Dictionary, quote, the most authoritative paper-bound dictionary. Honey, what page should I turn to?
17.
Okay. I hope 17 is not the introduction. All right, here we go. All right, 1 or 2?
2.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Out of 19.
15.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
We're gonna get we're gonna get complaints about the next episode. Alleluia, which is the un-H'd form of hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Why did you make that noise?
I'm impersonating Leonard Cohen.
I actually like that song. Thank you very much. The end. Actually, it doesn't give the definition. It just says see also hallelujah, but I think it's an exclamation of praise. It's probably like Aramaic or something. So it looks like we gonna be getting all testifying and all evangelical next week.
Oh, fuck.
Praise kippers. Testify. We should call next episode Praise Kippers.
Well, hopefully we'll remember that.
I'm calling it in advance. But it looks like we actually stuck to our hour this time. Sorry that the past 2 episodes kind of went about, 15 minutes long. And hopefully, if all goes well, maybe next month we can start our interviews once we're in the same country for a week or so.
Yeah, we have 3 interviews lined up, worked out, and they're all very exciting. And I'm currently holding an